What is up, folks? It is Thursday night TCR Live. I am, although you don't see him, joined by Burd, who is coming to us live from the nurse's office. But Aarron Van Buren, Aaron's in detention, so he's not going to be here tonight. So yeah, it's going to be just me on the screen, and because Kyler can't be on screen with us tonight, but he is with us. Kyler, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing okay.
Okay.
I'd be lying if I say I was doing good, but I'm here and I'm excited to talk about the Cardinals for a little bit.
Well, I appreciate you joining us, even though, you're coming from the nurse's office. So, and then, we had a little fun with the thumbnail because of everything that's in the news. So you may have noticed the thumbnail is study hall edition. We've got Kyler Murray in his Surface tablet showing us that he is doing his, minimum 4 hours of studying. Here I am, the professor, the teacher, or whatever. Aarron just looks happy to be here. He's just like, hey, guys. But Kyler's trying to get some digits from that redhead. I don't know. What's going on there, Kyler?
It is a perfect recreation of my high school days. What can I say?
There you go. Awesome. So anyway, here we are. What are we going to talk about? Well, of course, we're going to talk about Kyler Murray and everything that came up in the news. Want to say hey, though, to some of the folks that are here in the chat. We got Silver Wolf. Bro, we have homework now. And yes, and detention if it's late. That's why Aarron is in detention. He got that homework in late. So we got Chris Young. Thanks for being here. Evening, folks. Did Kyler get enough stars on his chart today, guys? I think he did. I think that press conference that we talked about, I think he earned some gold stars for that in my book. So we can talk about that in a little bit. We've got Elo on here. Class is in session. Everyone smash that like button and subscribe. Let's get Professor and his wonderful crew notes. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you. Great supporter of the channel. Always very kind. So definitely appreciate that. And please do click like. And if you aren't subscribed, subscribe. We've got David Pan. Almost perfect recreation of high school. I never got paid to study. Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, Kyler's getting paid a $250 million. So, I'll take that to study. And we got Paul G. Hey, everyone. Hi, everyone. So appreciate you all being here. And if other folks pop in, we'll say hi. So let me real quick, just kind of, I'm sure you all know what's gone on, but in the news, we'll actually go back here. It all kind of started with a tweet from Ian Rappaport saying contracts are about give and take. One example from AZ Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray's $230.5 million contract. There's an addendum that requires 4 hours of independent study per game week. It is important to the team making a commitment at that level. Thus, it was important to Murray. Now, this set off a little bit of a storm. And the media ran with it and fans kind of ran with it. And it fed into some existing narratives about Kyler. And people question, well, does he not watch film? What's going on with this? Do they, and as you can, as you've probably seen into every narrative you can imagine. And Kyler, kind of had enough of that apparently. And today, he came out and made a statement about 4 minutes long about, listen, I put in the work. There's no way I would have got to where I've gotten without that work, so on and so forth. It was a good statement. I generally liked it. So, and if you haven't seen it, Cameron Cox has, I think the full statement, on Twitter. Definitely check that out. So Kyler Burd, what are your thoughts on this, the whole study gate, are we calling it? Study hall gate. What are your thoughts on the situation and Kyler's statement?
Oh, man. I was so excited to see the initial news that we had extended Kyler Murray, just like we had predicted in our last live stream, that Kyler Murray would get paid this week before training camp started. Turned out to be true. I was very glad to see that. Glad to see that we're locking him up till 2028. It's definitely the best, most promising young quarterback the franchise has drafted, um, possibly ever. I think you can make that argument pretty well. Um, so glad to see that. And then you think the drama's behind you a little bit, all this off-season stuff with his agent and these big releases of statements and stuff. And then it just it keeps pouring on. The offseason has had no breaks for the Arizona Cardinals as far as PR goes. And regardless of who wanted this addendum in the contract, whether the rumors that it was Michael Bidwill are true or not, I don't think it's a great look for the organization to have something like that in there. Now, granted, I understand that this is a half or a $250 million contract. So I also think it's completely fair to put in absolutely whatever protections you could possibly want in a contract with that type of money. But what has come from it, and this implication that the organization doesn't trust Kyler and that Kyler's immature, and it feeds into this narrative that he's still a kid who plays video games and doesn't display any type of leadership. It just continues to hurt the public image of the Arizona Cardinals, and that is just very disappointing thing to think about and to witness all over social media, because half of it's fans of other teams just sort of piling on.
Yeah.
But the other half are the group of Cardinals fans who have never been on board the Kyler Murray train, and it's just sort of feeding into these preconceived notions of him that haven't been able to die out yet. So I don't think in reality it's that big of a deal, probably, but the image of the organization just keeps taking hits.
Yeah, we felt like we were having a nice week last week.
Yeah.
Hudson's coming back. Murray gets the extension we've all kind of been waiting for. Heck, they even announced, the new helmets that got rave reviews, right? Everything's looking up. And then the tweet, right? So this is why we can't have nice things, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, I know that the Cardinals brought in Murray, you can argue, and particularly his agent brought this on themselves, but it's like, I don't know, like blood in the water and sharks. And I'm not trying to be totally bashing on the sports media, but there's blood in the water with the Cardinals in terms of there being kind of just juicy news stories. The social media scrub, the statement from his agent, is Kyler upset with the organization, and then the contract, and then so it's like there's blood in the water. It seemed like they got everything kind of in order with the contract, but a new thing came out and the sharks, swirled around it because it gets clicks and views, right? So it just kind of keeps coming back. And I think, the Cardinals are on the media's radar and they're on the radar because the stories, are kind of compelling, or whatever you want to call it. There's an interesting story there, so they're going to follow it. So the Cardinals have to kind of try to stay out of the news is what they need to do for now, right? It seems like, to let that go away. Let's get to some of the comments in the chat. Jordan P saying, his statement was good, but I think it would have been amazing if he just addressed the stupid addendum and shut down all the nerves about it. Declining to talk about it still leaves it open-ended. Yeah, that's tough because the tough part, Soul Pancake, Marco's saying, yeah, he declined to answer the question, wish he owned up to it. But here's the tough part. Players and coaches and GMs, the general approach towards contracts is to not talk about the details of the contracts. As much as I think some of us would have liked to hear him address that, they're not going to do that. They're just not. They never really have. They're going to say, well, we let the agents deal with that, or if it's the GM, they're going to say, well, we don't really like to talk about those details. So I get why you all wish he would have, but I also understand that a player is just not going to get into that stuff. You know what I mean? Oh, Kyler, do we have you still?
Still here.
Oh, so yeah. Anyway, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I do want to say that I generally did like Kyler Murray's statement today. I
Mhm.
like that he at least addressed the media in the best way that he could, because like you said, just the general rule is to not talk about that sort of stuff outside of the negotiating room. And I think that's generally a good rule. Like, it's business and you handle business behind closed doors, and that's that. This, however, happened to get out in the media and caused a big stir, but I'm glad he came out. And I don't know that I've ever really in a press conference seen Kyler Murray so openly address criticism,
Mhm.
um, and come back at it. We've seen him after bad games and in the post game press conferences sort of skirt around things or not want to talk about it. But I really enjoyed that he came out, said, what everyone is saying in the media is pretty disrespectful, to
Mhm.
think that I could get to this level of playing and not have to work really hard for it. The fact that he's a top 10 pick in 2 professional sports and saying that he didn't have to work for it is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is just on the face of it. So he obviously does have a work ethic. He is at the same time also blessed with insane athletic abilities that a lot of quarterbacks don't have. And some of that is brought on himself, because so many people have been going back to that New York Times article and him. It wasn't a good look, the
Yeah.
quote from that New York Times article. It comes across as a little conceited, that
Yeah.
I can do things that other quarterbacks can't, so I don't have to watch as much game film as them. It
Even if it's
that
true, you don't say it, right?
Exactly. You
Yeah.
don't say that sort of stuff, because it does present this image of a conceited, young, immature guy, especially when you're trying to be compared playing ability wise with guys like Tom Brady
Mhm.
and these elite guys who have been doing it for a long time. And you can say, yes, I don't watch 5 hours of tape a day like Tom Brady does, but you don't really say it's because I don't have to, because I'm so
Mhm.
much more naturally gifted than Tom Brady, which is true. He is.
Mhm.
He's a better athlete than Tom Brady's ever been. But Tom Brady's put in the work, and that's why he's the greatest of all time. Um,
Yeah. Sorry, good.
but overall, I still like that he came out. He talked about it in what I think was one of the most like mature instances of him sticking up for himself and trying to lead by taking away this narrative that's negatively impacting his team.
Yeah, and the quote in the New York Times was ill advised. And listen, it's part of the maturing process. He's a 20-something-year-old kid. I when I was that age, I know I said stupid stuff. Um, or things that were ill advised. And like, if that's the level of the quote unquote immaturity, I mean, there are players who who have been quarterbacks who have done far worse in terms of maturity. I think he's learning from this in terms of recognizing how the media is going to take things. So I think he's going to be better for it. I loved the press conference. I think it was a good look. It seems like he's getting generally positive reviews across the board from at least good faith reviews, people who aren't trying to be trolls. So yeah, I think so. There's the question still of why the addendum was there, and there's a lot of uncertainty. Drew here, for example, says, I honestly believe the addendum is about him being a professional gamer in Face Clan or whatever. Not my scene, just a reminder of who's giving him the $160 million guaranteed. I don't think is any concern. And
Joe, not I don't want to interrupt you, but
yeah.
as we are kind of seeing in the comments here, Ian Rappaport did just report a minute ago that the Cardinals removed the controversial clause from Kyler
Ooh,
Murray's contract, a move that happened yesterday.
okay. Okay, so
Breaking
that's
news.
interesting. So that's you know what? I'm glad just being reported now, but it happened yesterday. I'm glad. I hope they come out and make a statement about that. Um it's still, the damage is still done.
Yeah, it's too late now, but
Yeah.
I would hope that Steve Keim and Michael Bidwell can both come out and address it in some way, at
Mhm.
least in some reassurance that this was never about our not trusting the work ethic of our quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason we just gave him $250 million,
Mhm.
and we removed it because we don't want it to be the hang up that people keep talking about when this is a guy that we trust to lead us to a Super Bowl. At least
Yeah.
just say the things that need to be said.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, people talk a lot about his gaming, but I'd much rather a quarterback that plays Call of Duty than one that spends his time at a strip club. Like, listen, there's worse thing. Athletes have hobbies. They're allowed to have hobbies. It is not a 24-hour job. It's maybe a 12 to 14-hour a day job, and maybe more some days a week. But like, you know, I think it's unfair to not allow someone to have hobbies. Now, again, if they're not doing the work, but I never bought that. But I think I saw kind of a short interview with Ian Rappaport today that I think, to me, had the best explanation for the clause. Like, like fans and people and reading, and when we see things in the media, like the narratives that get pushed are the ones that are the most interesting and compelling. And the most dramatic narrative of that, and the most compelling, exciting narrative about the clause was, oh no, the Cardinals are worried that he's not putting in the work, so what's wrong with that's the narrative that gets clicks. But often, and this is why I tend to be very like, hey, let's kind of slow our roll on these kinds of things. Often the real story is something much less exciting and much more mundane. And Ian Rappaport discussed what his take was on what that was really about. And I thought this made the most sense. And essentially, what it sounds like that clause was less specific about Kyler and more about the fact that, like, the Bidwell family and the ownership, of the Cardinals, they aren't as wealthy as like the Cronkies or the people, some of the people who own
Mm,
some of the other teams. And
yeah.
this was the biggest contract they've ever handed out. Right.
Yeah, it was, and they talked about that, or Cliff Kingsbury had
Mhm.
mentioned that a few weeks ago, that yeah, this is probably the biggest deal this organization has ever given out, and it's true. I've written an article for Raising Sona
Mhm.
on the biggest contracts by position
Mhm.
that the Cardinals have ever given out, and because we have not had the situation of extending a young superstar quarterback before, um, we haven't given out one of those
Yeah.
big mega deals. The biggest like mega deal that you can talk about was Larry Fitzgerald, and for a little while he was the highest paid non quarterback in
Right.
the league. I mean, that's Aaron Donald now, but Larry Fitzgerald did break that record there for a bit. But Kurt Warner never got to that level of money. Carson Palmer never got to that level of money. Um, we have not done one of these long
Yeah.
term mega extensions of a quarterback, so we've never paid that type of money to anyone. So it is a thing that's brand new territory to a franchise that is not used to that sort of thing.
Yeah. So kind of Rappaport's kind of point, and I kind of think this is really what it's about, is that it was not specific to Kyler. It's just like they're signing a check bigger than for any the biggest contract they've ever signed for a player. It's high stakes, and it sounds like Bidwell, just with that kind of money involved, wanted to put every assurance he could in the contract through an extra language that he just wanted something in writing, a commitment, and that he probably would have done that for any quarterback at this point. Um, you know, I don't think he'll ever put an addendum like that in again. And no team, I think Ian Rappaport said he doesn't think any team will ever do that again. Um, but yeah, so I don't think I really just don't think it was about Kyler. I don't think he wasn't putting the time. I think it was just Bidwell wanting extra protections in there because he was nervous about the money, right? Why remove it? The damage is done. Yeah, why remove it? I don't know. Damage control, so they can say, hey, they're probably gonna. I do think there's going to be a press conference. They're going to give a few days to cool down, maybe, but I think we'll hear from Keim and maybe Bidwell reassuring that they believe in Kyler, and I think we should hear from them.
Now,
Clearing that up.
I think a press conference with Kime or Bidwell, even just with a frank admission that what happened was exactly what you were just saying.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't done a deal like this before. We
Yeah.
We were putting in different types of protections. This had absolutely nothing to do with our faith in Kyler Murray to perform as quarterback. That was our mistake, and we're
Mhm.
learning from this big deal like this. We hope to give Kyler another big deal like this in 2028, and
Yeah.
we'll do better next time. And I think that is a perfectly fine, better than acceptable answer to Cardinals fans. I think I would feel fine hearing that.
Yeah, for sure. I hope we get a little bit of a mea culpa from them, like you talked about, right? Because
Yeah,
I think they owe Kyler that. To be honest, I think he's
I think so
taken the
too.
heat, and he stood up. He's taken the heat. He came out and said and made a statement, and took the heat. And I think they should do that for him. So here's hoping, right? Let me say hey to some of the folks that have jumped in here. Apologize if I haven't got to you yet. I try to get at least one comment from each person. Moore's Legacy, thanks for being here. Was a regular participant in Mock Draft Mondays back in the day. Do we get DJ? Do we let DJ go? DJ Humphries? No, I don't think so. I think they're going to extend him. And Alawan thinks so. I know he had a rough year last year. And COVID may have been part of that. This year, he could make himself a whole lot more money this year if he plays well. But I think they extend him. We'll see though. Real quick, who else? We had a couple other folks that jumped in here. Cardinal Sin. Some of my faith has been restored. Yeah, hopefully, right? Let's see. Chris said something here. I've worked with a lot of lawyers and they all think the same way. You put language in agreements to protect yourself against every possible thing you can think of, however improbable it may be. Yep. That's kind of, and maybe people don't, not everyone knows this, but I think a lot of people do. Michael Bidwell was a former federal prosecutor. He's an attorney. So,
Yeah, that's a good point. I had not thought of the fact that he's a very accomplished attorney. So
yes,
I could see where he's coming from, throwing every protection under the sun into a huge contract.
right. And then, Chris saying removing it shows they aren't actually worried about Kyler specifically. Yeah. So, but yeah, unfortunately, the press is still going to run with it, right? Diego Perez is here. Yo, what's up? Appreciate you being here, Diego. Also, someone who's regular part of Mock Draft Mondays. I am Bear. I am no more study clause. Yeah. Okay. No more study clause. There we go. Glad it's gone. Mark Jackson, who is a writer for AZ Sports Underground, who has had his first article published with us. Good evening, Mark. Thanks for being here. Great piece about the Coyotes. And that's a great chance to plug AZ Sports Underground. Kyler, as the editor-in-chief of AZ Sports Underground, I'm going to put you on the spot. Why don't you tell people a little bit about our website if they haven't checked it out yet?
Yeah,
and we got real quick
plug.
Yeah, we've got another writer, Marcos
Look at
Labrada,
that.
who's also writes for us. So we got some AZ Sports Underground writers in the house. So go ahead and give your plug real quick.
Yeah, beautiful plug, beautiful segue as always, Joe. AZ Sports Underground is a thing that Joe and I came up with, and about a month ago now, we started putting that site together. We got one up and running in a couple weeks, and we're going really strong right now. We've already got about 20 articles up. We're really Cardinals heavy right now, but we've got some great contributors coming in that are doing some work, like Mark Jackson on the Coyotes and some Suns stuff coming in. So we just want to be a place on the internet to, one, provide a way for independent content creators that are interested in Arizona sports to showcase their work, and two, be a one-stop shop for all Arizona sports, college, pro, everything you can think of. And we're doing really, really well there, getting more traffic every day. And it's just a really exciting thing to see, thanks to the contributors that are in here and the other ones that we have writing our stuff. So if you guys are interested, I think Joe probably has a link in the description to this live stream. Please go check this out after the stream is over. Please, give us your full attention while you're here. But as soon as we're done, go to
while
the
you're in
description.
class.
Yes, while class is in session, you cannot click on another link. But as soon as it's over, go to the description, go check it out, and give us your thoughts on it too, because we would love to see what everyone's thinking, see how we can do it better as we start going into the preseason, as professional seasons start pumping up. So would love if you guys would go check that out.
Great plug, Kyler. Yeah, we're really proud of the work we put in, and we're excited to see where it goes. I just published an article about the Kyler Murray, the narrative surrounding him. So if you want to hear more thoughts on that, check it out when we're done. Paul G is contributing to Raising Zona, so definitely check out him. And they've got the Cardinals fan forums, so definitely check those out as well. Jordan P is asking thoughts on Simmons being mentioned and seen with safeties more as of right now. What are your thoughts about that?
I saw something, and I can't remember who the quote was attributed to, but it was along the lines of, it would be nice to use Simmons as a safety, but because of the Cardinals roster construction right now, that's kind of a hard thing to do when you've got a Buda Baker and a Jalen Thompson, who are probably the most underrated safety duo in the NFL right now. They're both fantastic in their own rights. And if they were on separate teams, they would still be the best safety on that team. But Simmons is such a unique athlete that he can do a lot of safety things at a really high level. And I think there are some safety things he can do at a higher level than traditional linebacker roles. But because of the roster that we have, Simmons is just being put in a weird spot, and finding that way to use him is a unique struggle for Vance Joseph, I think. He's just such a unique athlete that you have to find unique ways to use him. So I would not mind seeing him in some of those box safety type of roles where I think he would really shine. But I think for right now, he's going to stay at least nominally in the linebacker room. But hopefully there are some unique ways to use him, dialing up pressure, using him in the box, things like that, I think are all on the table. If he plays kind of like a Derwin James, so you've got to use him like a Derwin James who can be anywhere on the field. You kind of never know what position he's playing. Isaiah Simmons can do the same thing, and that's a big benefit if there's a guy out there that you just don't know what he's actually going to do when the play starts. But figuring out that utilization has to happen this year. You can't keep wasting an athletic gift of someone like him. You just can't while he's on his rookie deal like this.
Yeah, I picked up Warren Sharp's 2022 NFL football. And Sharp, if you're not familiar with Warren Sharp, follow him on Twitter. He's one of the best folks out there in terms of deep dive stuff on the NFL. And he does this preview that he publishes every year. And it's, you have to pay for it. It's like $35, but it like all the folks like who are like in the media and in the know, they all follow his stuff. And I was reading something and they were talking about trends that they're seeing from last year and this year. And one of the trends that they're seeing is that defenses are becoming less, they're going less blitz heavy in terms of aggressive. They're blitzing fewer people, but they're doing more, they're shifting more towards trying to disguise looks. And what he's saying you're going to see a lot this year is a lot of two high shells where you got the two safeties high, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be in a cover two or two deep safety look after the snap. They start in that shell and then they move around. Sometimes sometimes they try to disguise those looks. They might end up in more of a cover three or a cover one or something else, but they start out that too high. And what they say is what they're trying to do, and they do a lot of moves, which you see from Vance Joseph, where they get a lot of guys in the line of scrimmage and show blitz, but they only blitz 3 or 4 in the end. So he says that's the trend you're seeing a lot in defense, and he expects you're going to see it this year, where there's a lot of attempts to disguise looks, start in that too high shell, but end up doing something different. To try to, instead of putting pressure through blitzes, you try to get quarterbacks to make mistakes by not knowing where their defenders are going to be. So where I'm going with this is, I think with Simmons, I don't think he's going to be one position. I think, they'll line him up in linebacker a lot, but he may start out in linebacker, but when at the snap, he might do that kind of the robber techniques where he falls back into coverage and tries to, be where the pass is going to be, or maybe covers the slot or covers the tight end or blitzes. So I think they're getting him working with the safeties because he may, he's going to maybe start out in that linebacker position, but depending on how they shift things after the snap, he might fall back into coverage a lot. So I think that's what's going. I think that's what it's more about, is they are going to try to use him more versatilely. And I think that's good. I think listen, I've said this before. I think of all the players in the NFL, in terms of physical tools, like, he's got what it takes to cover tight ends as well or better than anyone else. Fast, long, so I think it probably is part of that. And I think it's part they're going to try to kind of move him around a lot. So that's kind of what I think is going on. We've got a couple of comments. Classy Nasty, appreciate you being here. Did y'all hear about Antoine Woods and, Jordan P mentioning that? And yeah, in fact, I'm actually kind of I'm going to probably do a video about him after we finish. I'll probably record a short video about him. But they signed Antoine Woods. He's an interior defensive lineman, was undrafted free agent in 2016 by Tennessee. He's 6'1", 318. So that is your build that you'd expect for kind of a nose tackle. I got his PFF grades and snaps. His 2018 was his best year, 659 snaps. PFF grades, 63.9, defense, run defense, 68. So, to me, I know he looks like, a position that they needed, right? Which is someone depth at nose tackle, right? I feel like, we talked about this before. That's a position where they had need. I think he's going to be a guy that probably is, if he makes the roster, I think he's going to be a guy who's going to be depth with Rashad Lawrence and Leki Fotu. What are your thoughts on that signing?
I would be lying if I said I knew a ton about Antoine Woods.
Yeah.
I knew the name. I knew he'd been around the league for a few years. But it's the time of year. You're adding bodies to camp. You're seeing what sticks. You're seeing what quote low production guys out there might be worth keeping on and having his depth through the season. So I'm glad he'll be in there to get some rotations at nose tackle. Probably with Rashard Lawrence and Leki Fotu and see what's going on there. So nothing against the signing. It's a low risk, low medium reward type of thing. So yeah, I'm all for it. But to jump back to what the conversation at hand, Kyler Murray's little addendum. The Cardinals did release a statement right now.
Yeah,
it's a quote from Adam Schefter, and it says, quote, "After seeing the distraction it created, we removed the addendum from the contract. It was clearly perceived in ways that were never intended. Our confidence in Kyler Murray is as high as it's ever been, and nothing demonstrates our belief in his ability to lead this team more than the commitment reflected in this contract."
Here we go. Yep, there's the quote. Okay. It's so, I'd like to see a press conference at some point where they get at that a little more.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to see something, right? It's better than nothing, right? Okay. So yeah. So let me get a couple, say hey to some of the folks and get some of the comments in here. I know we've got quite a few. We've got let's see. We've got Robert Moore, another contributor for AZ Sports Underground. He's got a couple articles out there. Definitely check out his work. He made it. Appreciate you being here. Got some really good stuff. A really great article about arguing why Kyler Murray is not overpaid. A really great read there. So yeah. Let's see. I think, and Mr. Mono's here. Agree with you, Paul. Me either. Zach. So he's responding to something Paul said. Oh yeah, not sold on Fotu. Yeah, Fotu's got to. He hasn't. He's struggled. He needs to take a step forward. So Mr. Mono's agreeing with that. We've got Elite Flight. Did the Cardinals just remove the study clause for? Yeah, they did. So they've removed it. So that's great. So yeah, Woods is just kind of a depth guy there. They needed someone there, but someone else asked if they think if the Cardinals are going to sign D Ford. still looking. I don't remember who said that. I apologize. I'm trying to find that question. What are your thoughts? D Ford was cut. I believe it was the 49ers that released him. What are your thoughts on D Ford?
I don't really know. My gut would not be for it. I think we have a little bit of cap space. We have some specific needs that we can fill with that type of money. And I don't think we have to go the D Ford route to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've kind of, I know a lot of people are saying that they want the Cardinals to sign an edge rusher and a veteran edge rusher. I just don't think they're going to do that. Paul says he's done too many injuries. I just don't think they're going to. I think that I know that people don't feel comfortable with Marcus Golden as the only kind of bona fide edge rusher that with a track record that you're comfortable with. I get on the other side that you're hoping that between Kennard, Gardick, the rookies, Dimikaji, that someone's going to step up. But I think that it becomes a numbers game, because Dimikaji is, if you assume they're going to keep both of the rookies on the roster, and you assume they're going to keep Gardick, Kennard, and Golden, Dimikaji is already kind of an odd man out. It's tough. The numbers are tough for him making the roster at that. I don't think they're going to bring in a veteran, because neither of the rookies would make it to the practice squad. They would get scooped up. They're going to keep those rookies on the roster. I think both of them, Cam and Majai. I think they like Gardick. They want to keep him around. I think Kennard, they want him on the roster. He's a veteran. I don't think they're going to do that. They're already, and then you got Jesse Luketa, who might be inside linebacker, outside linebacker, who's probably already going to have to be a practice squad guy unless he can make it on the inside for depth. I just don't think that they have the room on the roster, and I don't think they're bringing an edge rusher. But cornerback, right? Spend money on Hayden, right? Cornerback is, I think, the place where to go, right? Robert saying same thing, right? So multiple people saying thing here, right? So everyone, a lot of people. So in fact, there was a quote from Kingsbury today, right? Right, Kyler? What do you want to fill us in on? Did you catch what Kingsbury said?
I did. I was just looking for it. So Cliff Kingsbury did say today, I think we're going to continue to work with the group that we have and then see what's out there. There's some really good players out there trying to find homes, and we'll be in that market definitely.
Right. So, and we've been saying that for a while, right? On the show. If folks been here, we pretty much every week we've said they're going to bring in a veteran. Or if they don't, they should, right? And it sounds like they're going to. It's a matter of probably who and at what price. And it seems like maybe right now what's going on is there's a little bit of this next wave of free agency where maybe they're waiting to get the prices go down a little bit. But yeah, I think one of those guys, whether it's Alford or Hayden, I'd be ecstatic about either of those guys. So yeah, I think that's the way to go. I think there was an interesting question that was posed about cornerbacks by, I think it was Aarron, asked, would you rather have, and I'm looking for the question, but would you rather have really good cornerbacks and so-so safeties, or really good safeties and so-so cornerbacks? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm very thankful that we have elite safeties, but I do think you have to go with elite cornerbacks if you're going to have to make the choice there. You just see what even one high-level elite cornerback does to a defense in taking away a number one option. Jalen Ramsey is one of the best cornerbacks of the last decade. You have to give him respect. And he takes your number one option away a lot of the time. And it's just like Patrick Peterson did for years and years. So the ability to completely take away a threat like an elite cornerback can do is something that's much harder to replicate, even with really elite safeties.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love our safety tandem. I think Buda is one of my favorite Cardinals I've ever followed. You know, I mean, he's quickly kind of made his way into my list of all-time favorite Cardinal players. I love Jalen Thompson. Jalen Thompson is a great player. Seems like a good kid. So I love our safeties, and I definitely would not want. I want us to extend them and keep them. You know, but in a vacuum, I'm with you. Right? Cornerbacks are the position that you really need. So, you know, and a lot of people talk about this, like great pass rush. So corners okay, elite cornerbacks for a bad pass rush. You know, and it does seem like they've leaned more towards the pass rush, at least in the past. But and I've talked about this before. A lot of the analytics that looks at that relationship between pass rush and cornerback, and the current thinking in analytics is that coverage is more important than pass rush. So I don't know. I've got some folks saying that Alfred was talking some poo emoji about Kyler not watching film. I doubt he comes back. Yeah, I didn't see that, so I don't know. That's interesting. Who knows, right? If he needs to, if he's going to have to maybe clean that up or smooth that over if he comes back. But and maybe it's not Alfred, but there are guys out there. So yeah, they need to get someone to come back. They need a cornerback, though. I do like Josh Jackson's potential. I want him to be more that kind of depth project guy, but I think he might be better than we think. But yeah, they need to bring someone in. We got a few more minutes. If anyone in the chat has questions or that you want to ask, we can probably do a little more Q&A. But yeah, so it does feel like, so Alfred liked a tweet of someone else saying it. Okay. So that's which isn't great, but it could be worse, I guess, right? So yeah. So if okay, with the Cardinals organization taking that addendum out, with the Kyler Murray statement, I'm cautiously optimistic. It feels like maybe this is starting to blow over. What do you think, Kyler?
I think it's on the way to blowing over. We can't stay in the national media this long. I mean, there are 31 other teams. Something has to go wrong with them. And I know that I think that the organization is just waiting for week one, because then it's just not going to matter that much. The only way it comes to matter is if right out of the gate Cardinals really struggle through the first few weeks. But everything goes away with winning, and every bad feeling goes away when you're winning. So if they get a good strong start to the season, this will blow over. All of the drama about Murray's contract will be forgotten by next season, and it'll be fine. It's just the life cycle of NFL news. It'll be fine, but it does suck to be in the national media so much this offseason for nothing good.
Right. 100%. All right, got some questions popping in here. This is a good one. Over under 31.5 passing touchdowns for Kyler. So what do you think about that one? I think it's a pretty good over under. What do you think, Kyler Burd?
Yeah, that's a pretty strong number. I'm going over. He has more receiving threats than he's ever had.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to take that leap as well. His passing numbers have been good,
mm-hmm.
but it is notable that he hasn't gone over 4,000 yards yet in his career. Yeah. So a more than 4,000 yard passing season and over 30 touchdown season is it's coming. And I think now would be the best time for that to come after getting paid an obscene amount of money. And I think just the offense in general is better than it has been in the past few years, even with Hopkins out those 6 weeks. So I'm going to go over on that. Maybe not too much over, but over.
I'm with you there too. I mean, if he gets injured, that he's not going to, but if he's healthy, I think that he's going to be over that. Elwan thinks healthy Kyler over. Silva AZ thinks way over. I'm not going to take the easy way out and say, well, if he's healthy, he will. I mean, I do think that is a stipulation, but I'm going to build into that. I think he's going to be healthy enough to do that. They're going to be. I mean, if the defense, with the youth movement does take a step back, and a lot of people are expecting the defense to struggle a little bit, that adds to the fact that they might be relying on the offense even more to win. So I think that so it could see some more blowouts or more boat races, so to speak. So I think over. So that's a good question. I'm gonna get this question because this is also kind of along the same vein. Thank you, Tanner, for being here. Appreciate you. Over or under 6 rushing touchdowns. What do you think about that, Kyler Burd?
That one's actually kind of tricky because talking about having better receivers and a better overall offense, you kind of have to wonder how much Kyler's legs are going to be planned for, and how much he's going to have to scramble and make things happen. And let's see, he's had 10 rushing touchdowns before. He almost broke the record there. It feels wrong to say under with someone as talented with his legs as Kyler Murray. I'm just not sure he's going to need to do that as much this year. I'm going to go under. I'm going to say he's probably around 5 rushing touchdowns this year, but the passing touchdowns go up so that we're over that 31.5.
I'm going to go over, and Paul also thinks over. We've been talking about the independent study addendum, but there was also another addendum in there about rushing yards they want, and so I don't know if that was just thrown in there because, or if they really want him to run more. I mean, last year he ran a lot less, so there's reason to believe maybe they want him to run more, but I don't know. But I think over, but I'm probably also with Paul there that I think maybe less than 10. But I think I'm gonna say over. And part of that is also, with Chase Edmonds gone, yeah, they've got some other running backs, and Darrell Williams, that are going to step in there, but maybe they rely on Kyle a little bit more. It's hard to know. So I don't know. Real quick, I want to say hey to Grandizer who just popped in here. Appreciate you. Great support of YouTube content creators. Thank you for all being a great mod and supporter. Yeah, hit the like, subscribe button. Thank you very much. And then check out AZ Sports Underground if you haven't. Tanner's asking, what's the addendum? The addendum, if you didn't, that's the whole deal about the 4 hours of studying a week. That right? Yeah, in his contract, exactly. So if you haven't seen that, but that I think most people have. So yeah. So anyway, yeah. So let's see what we had some other questions in here. Here's a good one. Will Myjai Sanders or Cameron Thomas be a rookie breakout star? What do you think about their prospects for this year between these two young pass rushers, Kyler?
I hope at least one of them is. I think they've got a lot of raw talent. Cameron Thomas is just a little bit more polished, so I think he's going to get just a little bit more opportunity. But the speed and the get off that you see from Sanders is really intriguing. So if he gets some opportunities with straight path to the quarterback, I mean, he might have a little bit of that Dennis Gardeck luck in just speeding his way there and making something happen. I was watching a Brett Coleman video on who he thinks the top 5 rookie pass rushers will be in this season. And he didn't go into Cameron Thomas or Sanders too much, but they were on his list of rookie pass rushers. Cameron Thomas was in his tier 2 list of solid starting pass rusher, which I think is probably pretty on point for where he should be expected to be in his rookie season. Marcus Golden is going to take much more of the heat this year. He is that one bona fide veteran pass rusher that we've got. And Sanders, I think he was in a tier 4. I can't remember what Coleman called that tier, but something with potential, and I think he does have that. He's just a little bit raw. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say they're gonna blow up for double digit sacks, but it would be lovely if they did.
Yeah, I think the most likely thing is some sort of platoon, that they rotate these guys. So I don't know that either one of them will be a breakout star. I think that we will see them, but it'll be in rotation. But like I like both of these players in different ways. Like if you told me one of these two guys is going to establish him as a nearly full-time starter and be a solid guy this year, I'd say Cameron Thomas. He's like the higher floor kind of a guy. But if you told me one of these guys really pops and just takes the league by storm and gets double-digit sacks and is kind of a breakout star, it's Myjai Sanders, because he's like the guy who's got that twitchy first step, that elite first steps. So Thomas to me sounds like that, just seems to me more like the solid, gonna be a great, really good starter, hopefully sooner rather than later. But Sanders is that guy that has that kind of high end twitchy potential, if that makes sense. But if I had to speculate, I don't think it's gonna. I think we're gonna say, okay, 4 or 5 sacks for one of them, 5 or 6 for the other. They rotated him in. That's more likely to me, but we'll see, right? Real quick, Tanner, I was asking a clarifying question, I think, about what's the addendum when he means what is the rushing addendum. I think they had an addendum for there was a rushing clause for he got a bonus if he got over 600 yards, I think it was, or something like that. So I think that was, so you're asking what was that clause, and that, yeah. So yeah, and you're asking, yeah, we did hear that during the stream. Someone brought that up, so we know that they took that out. So that's good news, I think. So yeah, yeah, Mr. Brown's got a good point. Myjai attempts to jump the snap, and that is an issue. Like I mentioned that in the video I did for him when they drafted him. He's got higher upside, but he's going to get off sides a few times. Yeah, that's kind of the concern, right? But played well against Alabama, right? Got another question here, and apologize if I miss folks' questions from anyone. But we got another over under here. Those are always fun. McBride, 450 yards, over or under? What do you think, Kyler Burd?
I'm going to go under for 2 main reasons. One, you've got Zach Ertz on the team, well-established, fantastic Pro Bowl level tight end, who Kyler Murray seems to have a really good connection with. So I think he's going to get quite a lot of targets this year. And also just the generalization that rookie tight ends don't tend to have super high level production. You see the building blocks growing of what they can be, but I don't think he's going to be just this immediate receiving beast, putting up 500, 600 yards, especially when you've got Zach Ertz on the team as well. But he is going to get playing time, absolutely, especially in 2 tight end sets, since we still don't really know the status of Max Williams.
Yeah, and I'd love to see him go over that, and it's not impossible. But I think I think you're right. Tight ends do take a while to kind of find their footing in the NFL. It's rare for them to have an impact rookie year. I know Kyle Pitts had a pretty good impact last year, but that he was like a generation talented tight end. And with Zach Ertz there and all the other pass catchers, the first 6 weeks he's going to have a chance, but that's also when he's getting his kind of sea legs, so to speak. Just his first kind of taste of regular season NFL football. So it's if he was getting his chance later in the season, I might feel a little better about that. But he'll be in there, but yeah, too many mouths to feed, I think, right? I would agree with that. So real quick, want to see if there's anyone else in here we missed. Got a lot of folks who popped in. I think we've said hey to everyone at least once. We're going to kind of work our way towards wrapping this up now. Kyler, anything you want to plug or anything you want to say before we get out of here, or where the folks can find you? Anything else?
Well, you guys can always find me on Twitter at azcard_birdseye. really active there. We plugged it in the middle of the stream, but please go visit AZ Sports Underground, see what we have going on over there. A good number of articles by Joe and I, but also so many from contributors. A lot of you from this stream that are in here right now, and a lot from Joe's Discord for his YouTube channel. We're just loving what we're doing right now, trying to put out some more content on other sports as well. If you're an Arizona purist, like I know a lot of you are, but a lot of great Cardinals content on there. A lot of stuff about his contract, so go read that up, and I'm sure we'll have to have something new now that now that addendum got torn up. But we'd love to see you visit. Leave a comment on the site as well. Just let us know what we can do to make it a better experience for everyone.
Yeah, and if you want to help us, get the site off the ground, retweet the articles. If you check it out, if you read an article there that you find really interesting or informative, or that you enjoy, tweet it out. That definitely helps. And if you aren't already following, we have a Twitter handle for AZ Sports Underground. Is that on the site? If it isn't, we probably should get it there. But I'm following it. You should, if you go to my Twitter and you follow me, or Kyler's Twitter, you'll see we're retweeting stuff from the site. So definitely follow us all on there. Appreciate everyone. Yeah, L1, thank you so kindly. Thank you for that. I think I did put it in the description. If it's not, I will go in there and fix that. Tanner, thank you. But I think it's there. But you have to copy and paste. So make it as a link. Okay. Yes. Okay. I'll fix that. Thank you for that heads up. Appreciate everyone here. Appreciate you being here. Hopefully next week it will be a little less. It seems like it's winding down, hopefully. Right. So, appreciate you all being here. A lot of fun hanging out with you guys. Great comments. Thank you so much. Great questions. Great over unders. If you're new to the channel, there's also should be a link to the Discord below. If there isn't, I'll make sure there is. Check out the Discord. We've got a great group in there as well. And please click like, and then comment on the video after it's over. That all helps out. Calvin, thanks for being here. We need less crazy, right? I appreciate that for sure. Silver Wolf AZ. So on the way out, I'm going to do, as I always do, I'm going to throw up a shout out, my Ring of Honor, the TCR, my channel members who support the channel. Definitely appreciate them, and appreciate everyone for being here. So thank you so much. We're going to get out of here, but we will see you next time, guys. Peace.